Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take the sources you share with us, articles, research notes, and really dig into them to pull out the most important knowledge just for you.
That's the mission.
And today, wow, we are diving into something pretty extraordinary. The transformation of Daniel Reyes.
Yeah, the material you provided lays out this incredible journey.
It really does. Going from broke, actually sleeping in his car, to becoming a self-made billionaire. And like in just 3 years.
It sounds almost unbelievable.
Right, but this isn't presented as some kind of fairy tale. It's a look at the actual strategy, the science behind it, the mindset shifts.
And the hard reality of it all.
Exactly. So our job today is to unpack this whole story and find those nuggets of wisdom, the things you might be able to use. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's set the scene first. We're starting not at the top, but way down at the bottom. Daniel Reyes, he's 28.
Got an MBA, stable job, apartment. Seemed like he was on a pretty standard path.
Totally. A comfortable life,
Hmm.
you know, and then boom, the sources say COVID hit and he lost his job.
And things apparently went south really fast after that.
Brutally fast. The material mentions within just 4 months, all his savings gone. Apartment gone.
And his car becomes his home. Just
That-
imagine that shift.
Everything he knew, that whole comfort zone just shattered. But here's where it gets interesting. The sources bring up that J.K. Rowling quote.
The one about rock bottom.
Yeah. Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which he rebuilt his life. Powerful stuff.
It really is. And you know, the psychological angle in the sources is fascinating here. It links to this clinical idea called post-traumatic growth.
Post-traumatic growth. Tell me more.
Well, it's this concept that deep adversity, like really profound trauma, isn't just damaging. For some people, it can actually be a gateway
A gateway to what?
to major positive change, accelerated development, basically. When everything familiar is stripped away, when you have to reinvent yourself just to cope.
You find things you didn't know you had.
Exactly. You might uncover strengths, resilience, capabilities that were hidden before. You're forced so far out of your comfort zone, you discover this inner grit. It makes you think, doesn't it, about how challenges might reveal your hidden strengths.
Absolutely. So, okay, Daniel's in his car, rock bottom. You'd think the worst part is the money, right? Or just being uncomfortable.
The physical aspect.
But his own reflection, which is shared in the material, was different. He said being broke was one thing, but feeling mentally bankrupt, that scared him more.
Wow. That's a powerful insight, mentally bankrupt.
Yeah, and this feeling, it sparked what the sources call an awakening, like a complete mental overhaul.
Even while living in the car.
Even then,
Yeah.
this tough period became one of, like, intense self-improvement. He built this whole new routine.
Right. The material lays it out pretty clearly, like waking up at 5 a.m. every day, in the car,
Reading a book a week, psychology, finance, business stuff.
practicing mindfulness too, and journaling, which is huge for processing things.
Yeah, totally.
Mhm.
And constantly learning, watching lectures from places like Stanford and Harvard on YouTube for free.
So he wasn't just, waiting for things to get better. He was actively working on his inner world.
Exactly. The sources really emphasize this point. He was building a new foundation, but it started in his mind long before the money showed up. He was essentially building a new brain.
And there's real science behind that, which the material touches on. Neuroplasticity.
Right, I've heard of that. The brain changing itself.
Precisely. Your brain isn't fixed. It can literally reorganize, form new connections based on what you do and learn. Think of it like a muscle.
Okay.
So when you consistently do things like Daniel did, intense learning, critical thinking, reflecting through journaling, you're strengthening pathways for resilience, for problem solving, adaptability.
So he was literally reprogramming his own mind.
You could say that, yeah. Building resilience, building capacity for growth. And that's something anyone can tap into with intentional practice. It's not magic, it's training.
Okay, makes sense. So he's got this super strong mental game going, but still, no money. How does he bridge that gap? How do you go from mindset to, well, making a living again?
That's the next crucial piece. The sources mention a turning point.
Yeah, apparently he stumbled onto an online video, something about AI automation and remote businesses.
And that sparked an idea.
Right. He realized he had all this free time, obviously, and this rapidly growing knowledge base. Why not use that to build digital systems?
Systems that could earn passively, make money while I sleep, as the goal often goes.
Exactly. And he didn't have money to invest, so what did he use?
Time, knowledge, and free tools. The material lists the specific things he launched.
Yeah, let's break those down. A faceless YouTube channel using AI voiceovers. Smart.
Avoids needing camera gear or being on screen.
A drop-shipping business, but
Yeah.
using automated chatbots for the customer side.
Yeah.
Again, leveraging tech.
And an ebook on Amazon Kindle, using those ChatGPT-style AI tools to help generate the content.
The key takeaway here, the source's stress, is he didn't wait for funding. He just started with what he had. His brain, his time, and free stuff online.
Which is a powerful lesson in itself, resourcefulness.
And the results came surprisingly fast, didn't they?
Staggeringly fast, according to the material. Within, what, 8 months?
8 months. The YouTube channel hits over 100,000 subscribers.
Wow.
The ebook, pulling in $5,000 a month.
Consistent passive income. Nice.
And the e-commerce store, the dropshipping one, scaled up to $25,000 a month. All automated.
That is incredible traction from zero in less than a year.
It really is. And it ties back to that philosophical point the sources shared. Freedom is not given, it is built.
And often it is built in silence when no one is watching. Yeah, I like that.
That whole period in the car, grinding away, that was the silent building phase.
No audience, no applause, just disciplined, unseen effort day after day. It really shows that massive success often grows from those tough, quiet times.
Okay, so now he's making what, around 30 K a month combined, less than a year after being homeless. But that's still a huge leap from $30 a month to billionaire.
Right. That's where the scaling comes in.
Yeah.
And the material is clear. This wasn't just luck. It was very strategic.
So what were those key strategies for scaling up so dramatically?
The material highlights a few critical things he did once the money started coming in.
Okay, like what?
First, delegating. And delegating early. He didn't try to do everything himself.
Right, he hired virtual assistants.
Yeah.
The sources mentioned places like the Philippines, Pakistan.
Exactly. To handle operations. That freed him up to think bigger picture, strategy.
Smart. What else?
Second, a relentless focus on building systems, not just completing tasks, but automating them or creating repeatable processes. If something worked, systemize it.
So his effort gets multiplied.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And third, and this is huge, aggressive reinvestment.
Yes. The sources said he put like 90% of his earnings back into the businesses.
Yeah, 90%. New tools, marketing, more team members, more learning. He wasn't cashing out early. He was pouring fuel on the fire.
Feeding the growth engine.
You got it. And the results by year 2, just astronomical.
The material says his companies were doing $4 million a year in revenue.
$4 million, and not just from one thing. He'd built out 7 different income streams by then.
Diversification. And that foundation allowed him to launch his next big thing, right? The online education business.
Teaching others what he'd learned about digital entrepreneurship. And this is where the sources suggest a shift in motivation.
How so?
It wasn't just about the money anymore. It became more about a mission, helping others achieve similar freedom.
That connects to that other quote concept from the sources. Money follows value, and value follows vision.
Exactly. His vision got bigger beyond just himself towards creating value for lots of other people through education. And as he created more value,
The money followed. It scaled up because the impact scaled up.
it stopped being just about getting rich and started being about creating something meaningful on a larger scale, which is often where truly massive wealth generation comes from.
Which leads perfectly into the whole mindset piece, the inner game, as they call it. Daniel apparently believed he became a billionaire in his head first.
Before the bank account reflected it. That's a common theme among high achievers. So what did that mindset actually look like, according to the material?
Well, it's described as seeing problems differently. Not as roadblocks or sources of pain, but more like puzzles, challenges to be figured out.
Interesting reframing.
Yeah, and actively embracing discomfort, seeing it as a necessary training zone for growth, not something to avoid.
Leaning into the hard stuff.
Also being strategic about where he put his resources, investing way more in leverage things that saved or multiplied his time, rather than buying fancy stuff early on.
Time leverage over luxury. Makes sense.
And, crucially, protecting his focus. Treating his ability to concentrate as his most valuable asset, more important than the money itself.
That focus point is critical. And all this, it ties back beautifully to cognitive behavioral research mentioned in the sources, specifically the growth mindset idea.
Popularized by Carol Dweck, right?
That's the one. Elite performers tend to operate from this mindset. They see failures or setbacks not as proof they aren't good enough, but as feedback.
Data to learn from.
Exactly, as information to adjust their approach. Daniel's whole story embodies this. Rock bottom wasn't defeat. It was feedback that his old way wasn't working. So he adapted, learned, changed his thinking, changed his actions.
It really highlights how much your mindset, how you interpret effort, challenges, failure, dictates what you can achieve.
Fundamentally, it shapes your entire capacity.
Okay, so we've gone through the fall, the awakening, the pivot, the scaling, the mindset. It's an incredible journey. But the real goal here for you, the listener, isn't just inspiration.
Right. It's about tangible takeaways. What can you actually use from this?
And the sources helpfully distill Daniel's journey into 5 key lessons, 5 core principles.
These are the essentials, the must-takes from this deep dive.
Okay, number 1, educate yourself relentlessly. The material hammers this home-free platforms like YouTube, online courses, lectures. They are gold mines if you commit.
Consistent learning is key.
Second, build before you're ready. Don't get stuck waiting for the perfect conditions or all the resources. Start now with whatever you have available.
Use what you've got. Imperfect action beats perfect inaction.
Third, create systems. Don't just hustle harder, work smarter. Automate tasks, create processes for things that work. That's how you scale your efforts.
Systems multiply your output.
Fourth, focus on leverage. Always be asking, how can I get more done with less personal effort? Use time leverage, tool leverage, team leverage, even starting small with one VA.
Amplify your impact.
And fifth, maybe the most important, protect your mindset. Recognize that your perspective, your resilience, your attitude towards challenges, that is your core asset. Guard it, cultivate it.
Your mind is the engine. Keep it tuned.
And the sources don't just leave you with principles, they give a clear action step, a call to action for you right now. Start one thing today, just one. Don't get paralyzed by the scale of Daniel's story. Pick one small action based on the examples we talked about.
Like launch a super simple blog or start researching a niche for YouTube.
Or brainstorm a simple digital product. Or maybe just commit to reading 10 pages of a useful book every day. Just start something.
Because the final thought from the material is powerful. Momentum beats perfection.
Exactly. Just get the ball rolling. So Daniel Reyes, his story is such a stark reminder, isn't it? Incredible transformation isn't magic. It's not just luck.
No, it's about deliberate choices, consistent action, and building that resilient mindset, often when things are toughest.
He literally used rock bottom as his launch pad. And digging into the sources today, we've seen all the layers, the psychology of post-traumatic growth,
The science of neuroplasticity, actually rewiring your brain,
the strategy of leveraging free tools and building systems from absolute zero.
and the critical importance of that inner game, the mindset as your primary asset.
So, as you think about everything we've unpacked in this deep dive, here's a final question for you to consider based on Daniel's journey.
What if your biggest setback, your biggest challenge right now?
What if that could become the solid foundation for your greatest achievement? If you approached it differently, with these principles in mind, what future could you build?
Something to think about.
Stay curious. Stay committed.